This is Brian Carlton for ABN Newswire. I'm back at the Bowlers Club of New South Wales for the April Symposium Resources Roadshow, where ASX listed companies take the opportunity to present directly to their shareholders and potential investors in an informal atmosphere. Liberty Resources is an Australian mining and exploration company focused on the discovery and development of deep coal tenements in the Galilee, Surat and Denison Basins in Queensland, Australia, as well as a Gold Lake project in Saskatchewan, Canada. Its chairman, managing director, Andrew Haythorpe, presented tonight. He joins me now. Andrew, welcome to ABN Newswire.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Last week you announced commencement of drilling for coal in the Surat Basin in Queensland. How big is the resource, do you think?
Well, the resources in Queensland are enormous, literally hundreds of billions of tonnes, and we have a very large property and tenement holding there which gives us the rights to the coal and ultimately, according to our business plan, the ability to produce valuable commodities from them.
But you're going to leave the coal in the ground?
Correct.
Tell me about that. Underground coal gasification, fascinating technology.
Absolutely. Well, the difference between underground coal gasification, as the name would suggest, is you leave it underground.
So no open pits, no
open pits, no longwall mines, no billions of dollars of capital, no destroying farms. We literally drill a well, a tube, literally a few inches in diameter, that goes down into the coal. It gasifies the coal. We pump air or oxygen into the coal, heat it up, and then that reacts with the water. Up comes what we call syngas. And from the syngas, we can either produce gas itself, electricity, or we can take it through to diesel, jet fuel, fertiliser, for example.
Talk me through those processes. If you're going into say a gas turbine generator for electricity,
yes.
Is there any extra processing required once you've got it out of the ground?
Absolutely. With the gas and with syngas, I should say, when we produce the syngas underground, one of the differences and one of the concerns that we've come across with talking with farmers and various people in communities around Queensland and elsewhere in the world is that their concern is that there's potential risk of underground contamination or water contamination or whatever. The irony with what we're proposing to do is you actually blow air into the ground, and it's like a big vacuum cleaner almost. You're cleaning out the chamber underground. You're producing a chamber underground. It cleans out all of the material, including the coal and the energy, bring it to surface, and then we process it, treat it and clean it up. And then from that cleaning process, then we go through to our final products, be it electricity, be it liquids or gas.
Where would you be doing the gas to liquid conversion?
Well, again, one of the brilliant things with UCG is because you drill down and then across in the coal itself, you really have a lot of flexibility as to where you site your UCG or energy hubs in terms of gas processing and handling at surface. So we can literally drill under across into country where perhaps it's not a good place to establish a processing plant.
Okay.
We can access that energy, bring it back up without disturbing the farms or the communities, and then sell our products from that hub or that centre location.
So in terms of fuels, we're talking high-grade jet fuel, diesel fuel you can put in your car or truck?
Absolutely. Gasoline, methanol, fertiliser and so on. And because of the way that we process the syngas and clean it up, it actually gives us a cleaner product than what you get from treating crude oil to produce those products.
Now you're largely focusing too on untapped reserves, aren't you? Because they are too deep to mine traditionally, but
Absolutely.
This method allows the energy to be released in a very simplistic kind of way.
Correct. And in fact, in Australia in particular, and in fact most parts of the world, less than 1% of the energy is being accessed through coal mining. So the coal mining industry and the export industry, what we read about in the papers and so on, is really tackling 0.1% of the total energy endowment. If you look at Queensland, go back to your earlier question about Surat, Brian, with hundreds of billions of tonnes of coal there, at 1.5 barrels per tonne of coal conversion, there are 1.5 times hundreds of billions of barrels of oil equivalent in Queensland and New South Wales and other parts of Australia as well as worldwide.
Is there a potential for Australia to become oil independent at some point in the future using these technologies?
I see the potential for Australia to become a major oil exporter to the world, not only self-fulfilling, but exporting.
Now you've got both rail and pipeline very close to the tenements too, which is always a major plus.
Absolutely, very nice.
You've mentioned energy hubs. What are they? How are they going to work?
Energy hubs, well, with syngas, we get two things actually that come out of the ground. One is the gas, the second is heat. In fact, it comes out at like 200 degrees, 300 degrees Celsius. Now, of course, you can't take heat literally through a pipeline from one place to another. You lose the heat. So therefore, we're compelled to produce electricity locally. Now, we can use that electricity to upgrade and produce liquids and fuels and so on, or we can provide electricity to local communities regionally. it's a great way of getting away from the major infrastructure problems that we face in this country.
Okay, which means jobs in regional areas, presumably.
Absolutely.
It means environmental benefits, simply using the syngas as opposed to some of the alternatives.
Absolutely.
It burns cleaner in cars, it burns cleaner in a gas turbine power station.
Correct.
Okay, so it's
All
a
of that.
win-win-win for everyone.
It's a win-win-win, and it's cheaper to produce than a lot of other energy sources that we're looking at today from a industry point of view.
So you do plan to take Liberty global? That's
Absolutely.
the idea?
And hence Canada and so on.
Understand. Time frame?
Working vigorously towards that. We hope to have our business plan pretty well unveiled over the next 6 to 18 months.
What kind of benefits do you get from presenting at the Symposium Resources Roadshow directly to potential investors? What's the trade-off? What's the payoff for you?
The payoff is really, as we see it, is education. The payoff being, and sorry, that's not to sound too precious about it, but we found, talking with government as well as local communities, there's a smorgasbord of myths. So we find that these opportunities to talk about what we see as a great future for energy and for Australia, I mean, for example, producing billions of barrels of oil at $20 or $30 a barrel of oil based on our coal, which is simply sitting there under the ground for millions of years and currently has no future opportunity, cleaner and better, is just a great educational opportunity as well as an investment opportunity.
I've made this point before talking about this UCG technology. This is really the clean coal we keep hearing about, isn't it, in many respects?
Absolutely. In fact, we're having a bit of a debate at the moment as to whether we present ourselves perhaps as the genuine or the cleanest clean coal concept, or whether we just sort of stay away from that space.
I'd hate to advise you, but most people's perception of what clean coal is going to be will be a massive machine stuck on the side of an existing coal-fired power station, which anybody who has got into the technology in any way at all knows if it does happen, will not happen for 20 or 30 years, and it's going to be massively expensive and energy inefficient to do it.
Yeah. So therefore, we almost completely bypass the whole coal concept by simply leaving it in the ground and producing clean gas.
Andrew Haythorpe, Chairman and Managing Director, Liberty Resources, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you very much, Brian.